Okay, so I'm back after a bathroom break. So like I said, like uh, problem is the same problem. Um, like uh, things happen a certain way. Uh, and like I said, America is evil. That is my belief, and that like canceling all the shows and the movies would, I think, do a favor for a majority of the rest of the population. I believe it would do a great favor for the indigenous communities. They don't need any of that goy slop that they give us. Hollywood, um, the elites and the elites eating children. They need to be put to a stop. America is evil, and I knew it all along. Like the Cuban Revolution, what they were fighting against. Like, you're fighting against some very evil, sick, demonic people. Of course, in 2026, at this stage in the game, it is way too late. I don't even say game. Game is not the right term to use. At this stage, at this point, um, you know, um, because again, like, I'm trying to, like, there's responsibility that I have on myself. But like, watching these movies, and we should be ignoring these evil celebrities and these evil actors and these evil, like, politicians. And I know, again, like, the system was broken since 2012. So these videos are, like, needless to say. Like, I don't need to say this. These videos, like, I don't preach, and I'm trying to, like, really get my message across here. Because I mean what I say. Like, like, Hollywood is evil, and the elites and their movies and the TV. Like, because the thing is like, the only way, I think, like, a proper reparation for the indigenous communities, which I feel terrible for, like, all this, and they were living a great way, and then all this, like, dumb infrastructure and cell phones and all these things is way too complicated, and it's way too difficult, nowadays in 2026. So we need to go back to the way things were. Like, this is unacceptable. And and that's what I advocate for. That's what the point of these videos are. If they canceled, like, I don't know, if we somehow, like, mentally decided that the movies don't exist, and the TV shows and the actors and the athletes and Hollywood, and I don't know, movies, like, we need to protect the indigenous people, or the people who are not corrupted by these evil, like, Hollywood scum, mind controlling, and their marketing campaigns. The thing is, it's all marketing, it's all evil, and it's all deceptive, and they're passing it on to naive people who, like, they want to exploit people. They exploit people's naiveness, but also their attention towards all these other problems that they're overwhelmed with, as well as myself. And so it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. There's so many problems to deal with, and it's tragic. Like, and the thing is, I don't know, like, because the thing is, I feel as though some of these things are needless to say. Like, I don't want, like, I'm hoping that it's common sense. Like, I'm hoping that my previous videos are a foundation to what I say next, and that I don't need to revisit old topics, and I don't need to tell you that the sky is blue, and because I'm just being so truthful here, because it's the truth. The English language, like I said, is evil. Just by speaking, it's evil. It costs to speak. It costs to take your thoughts, put them into words and sentences, and then to do actions. It costs to breathe. It costs to clean your room. All these things cost, and at this point, at this stage in the game, it could be too late. It could be too late, because it is 2026. Like, 2022 was, like, the cutoff year for a lot of things. I feel terrible. Like, every piece of meat that I ate, every thing I said, the world couldn't afford it. The world couldn't afford me sitting on the computer. The world couldn't afford any of these things, and it's very obvious now. And And those who don't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. I know everyone and I know everything, and it's so tragic and it's so sad. And um, I make these videos because I've denounced myself. I denounced my behaviors. I knew I criticized the system like 12 or 13 years ago. Like 2012, I was criticizing the system. I didn't agree with it. I didn't know why these things were allowed to continue for so long. For it was unattended for years. It was neglected for years, and the problem just kind of stays where it's at. It doesn't change, it doesn't get fixed, it doesn't get better. This is an overwhelming tragedy. This the real world is now. Like simple naiveness, simple, lack of attention to detail, and an entire person's life can change. One little mistake, one little and that's especially when it comes to intention from one person to another. And obviously, we're all saying fuck the system, and and the thing is, if there was a revolt by not just one person but the whole population, if we stopped participating in capitalism, stopped buying things, stopped obviously it would do something. But it's never happened. I don't know why it hasn't happened. There was Occupy Wall Street. There was Occupy Wall Street, Antifa, and communist rallies, and I endorse those. I fully endorse them, even though I'm not American per se. I mean, in Canada we have our own version of these events, but there's no action. There's no action plan. There's no there's no there's no action plan. There's nobody taking action. And obviously it's the people who are talking who they obviously gain influence. Right, when I talk, I gain influence because shit, that was too close for comfort. Is there another car? No. So like I said, just by talking, right, talking is it's controversial, but at the same time, because you talk, you gain influence and respect. Because the average person, they're not talking, and they're not talking because they're afraid to lose their job. Political and uncomfortable conversations. They're afraid to lose their job. They're afraid to lose their family, or they're afraid to get ridiculed, or in general, they just they're so complicit in the system that and I don't say that generically, right? And who we're gonna blame, I don't know, because it's you go down the list of names, you go down the pyramid scheme, and in Canada, the exploitation of, like I said, the attention span of the person, and the amount of problems that they have, and the amount of things they have to deal with, that's what people take advantage of, and that's the main problem. That's the main issue, and the system is to blame. The system created these issues where, the system the system created these issues where the system created these issues where where we're competing against each other, and 12 grade school system, and all these things to become a family doctor, and costs and bureaucracy. In my opinion, it's all unnecessary, and it doesn't guarantee a good doctor or a good neurosurgeon or whatever even profession. It could be a plumber. I'm trying to get my bread sealed. It could be a lawyer. The thing is I get the society is everybody knows that society was broken, but if this broken, to the point where it can barely function, where you're worried that the guy won't even drive properly. I didn't even say they could have been a great intentioned person, right? They could have been a great person, but they couldn't drive because the society is demanding that they drive, and that's it. Then they might have hit the person, and it could have been a complete accident. A lot of violence and conflict occurs simply because of an accident, simply because somebody's in the wrong place, the wrong time, saying the wrong thing, and a conflict, gets erupted. And so, like the thing is, I could sacrifice my intellectual capacity to, better one other person's ability in college or the universities. Because again, like once you pay your money, right? You pay your money, right? And whatever whatever the money means, the money means, and it's subjective form of value. We can trade with it. We can, use it as currency. I mean, you could use Pokemon cards as currency per se, like, because every card has value, right? And like the thing is like the world is very broken, and I was telling this guy in my class the other day, or I was telling this guy in my class that it would take an intervention years ago, right? Because now it would be too late. The person's heart is hardened, and they don't want to talk, and the thing is, I try to sound sincere, right? Because to some extent, I am acting. I am trying my best to keep it together. I have my own personal issues. Like, because again, I only use what I know about the past to try to deal with the present or the future, and like like some of these issues, they don't give. From my understanding, it goes back to how we parent children and how these things all happen, because everyone's like, oh yeah, it starts in the household. Single parent household equals bad child, and of course there's merit to these things, but when you really analyze and you look at it, you need to be like analytical, and you come to understand that you come to understand that that the single parent and single parent household and whatever, they the thing is this, the intention of the system might have not been bad. Maybe it wasn't intended, but in such a way where everything is difficult, and every little thing is is monitored, and even approaching, I was in the class, and even just before you approach a project or some conflict or some homework, there's an issue. I mean, then your entire country has collapsed at that point. At that point, your whole country ceases to function. And, I shouldn't exist, right? I could have been one of the I said it before, I could have been one of those Yeetus, could have been a Yeetus, but I'm still here, right? So might as well use my voice for something effective. But like I said, I didn't intend things to turn out this way. Sometimes I wonder why I hopped off the porch at all. I mean, these little simple actions suddenly become problems and controversial, and actions that suddenly mean a lot, right? Because it's because you're still alive, you could still do things, you could still talk and influence or try to better a situation while it's still possible. But again, when we're talking about one person or another, how people communicate with children, and PDF files and all these other things, it's difficult, because I don't know, you don't know if you say too much or you said too little. You've argued, you've added too much you've said too much, or you didn't say enough, or you pushed the person too hard, you pressured them too hard, or you didn't push them enough, and something, whatever happened. No, you don't know, and at this point, people are using people as manpower in not just conflicts, but in as test subjects, using people as test subjects, and kind of treating them like animals, testing. And the thing is, if I said nothing at all, right, the thing is, a proper way things should function is I shouldn't be saying anything at all. I should just do it, and I should already know it in advance. And that's how the Canadian system actually works. And that's why me talking through this phone, it means it's too late. It means, it was too late. And I accept that. I fully take responsibility in any problem, in any situation that I put myself through, or um, in any like problem. I know where I'm responsible. Hold on one second. I'm gonna grab my cane. 1 second.